Hello. Okay, this is getting awkward. So this is my video response of playing the game Civilization 6.
And what I'm gonna do is to create a plural world map and basically sit there and let the AI fight with each other and see what's gonna happen. So that's that. I already created the map. It took me for about 6 hours.
Okay, so I got tired of recording my own face. So anyway, back to the map. Each civilization have 6 hexagon around his capital hexagon. So like in my ideal future, the civilization would develop each city on each hexagon, and the hexagons, aka the cities, would connect to each other, and then they will have a central culture. But between two civilizations, there are also controversial lands, so they could still, compete with each other in some degree. For within one civilization, the capital land is usually the richest land, and every civilization have a tundra land, a land that would benefit their own civilization's buff, and another land which looks like Australia, a land that looks like Africa, and a desert land that is connected with the central part. So, they have to struggle if they want to get to the central part of the world. For civilizations, I avoided those civilizations that would pick up fight as soon as they met each other. So here we have Cleopatra, because her buff was kind of mutual beneficial, and we have Eleanor of France, because they usually go for diplomacy victory, which is a peaceful way. Then we have Gandhi, obviously. He's the last person that would pick up fight with others. We have Pericles of Greek, which kind of represents the cultural side of this map. We have Peter of Russia, culture as well, but he would be a potential threat because he would usually take up a larger amount of land of the map. And last but not least, we have Sundok of Korea, because they usually have the most advanced technology. So I was choosing my weird stormy plural map, and I didn't mess up with the settings. The only thing that I did was pick no barbarians, so they don't have to fight. You're seeing China here but Qin Shi Huang is only helping me to be an observer of this world. So this is the first civilization that I had. For a very long time, no one is doing anything in the very beginning. But then they started to build the second city, the third city, and they're not doing it as what I was expected. They're building a second city on the bridge of the hexagons, which is really weird to me, but it's their preference. I can't really control it. I guess maybe it is because of the fact that Russian is always appearing on the end of the map, like in every map, so they have to make their way towards the center of the world. Maybe that's the case, but anyway, Russian kind of don't care about their own land at all. They're just like developing towards the north. So they quickly took the controversial place that I set up for in the middle of two civilizations. Because if I get the chance to play this game, this is the exact strategy that I would go for, because you can take as many as land as possible in a short amount of time. And Yeah, I was just kind of afraid that they would pick up fight with other civilizations and they would like quickly take up the place that was supposed to take up for by other civilizations. And they kind of did, because Russian kind of took the place of where Greek was supposed to have. But overall, the world is growing in a pretty peaceful way. But it's also due to the fact that they can't really reach each other, so they can't really pick up fights. Soon enough, one of the Greek city becomes free city because it has too much influence from Russian. And after some decades, the city joined Russia, but the other part of Greek is going pretty well. Oh, not really, because the second city of Greek is also joining Russia. I don't think that's a good sign. On the other side of the world, France only have three cities, but their capital becomes the biggest city of the world. They build all these wonders, whatever you call them in English. I'm sorry. Korean is growing super well. It had six cities. Six cities besides the capital. And every city have campus, just like a typical Korean would do in Civilization 6. 200 years later, Russian became the major threat to the whole world because he took up 4 pieces out of 6 of what I was planning that everyone should share in the middle of the world. Okay, so 300 years later, India is making such a good use of what I was planning them to use. And Egypt, I don't really know what they're planning, but they're like building 3 little tiny cities in the middle of the world, which according to what how Greek has lost their cities, I don't think that's a good strategy for you, Egypt. But, they have 4 cities. But they're trying to somehow take the center of the world. And I believe that one of the city which belongs to France joined Korea. Wasn't expecting that to happen. But basically, France have no interest on taking up more spaces in the world. But every city is growing pretty well. They have large populations. They still have the largest city of the world. And Korea, at the year 1985, already has electricity in their capital. They're flying towards the technology victory. Here in the capital of Russia, St. Petersburg, we can see there are so many great writers, great painters, great musicians, waiting for a museum to be built so they can finally vomit their famous artworks. There is a time when Russian was kind of trying to attack either Egypt or Greek or both. So all of their great people are also running toward that direction. They're like, oh, take down their city so we can use their museums. There is no other war among the other part of the world. There is just Russian attacking other civilizations. But after 18th century, I feel like the world kind of find its balance between civilizations. So yeah, we kind of achieved a very peaceful situation in this world, which is really surprised because I kind of thought Russian would keep their attacking on and eventually become the only civilization of the world, but that doesn't happen. Pretty cool. Another surprise is about the energy consumption, because although Koreans started to use electricity at a very early age, they were actually using wind powers and solar powers. So the overall sea level didn't even rights at all in this world. So that's pretty cool. And this is kind of the last results that I have. Sadly, Russian did actually took up the central part of this world. But overall, we still have the plural world situation. Maybe. Maybe. I honestly don't think so. Because I feel like if any civilization took up the central parts, it would actually be the superpower of this world, which is pretty sad. Among other civilizations, they are developing towards different characters. Like, for example, Korean has their super advanced technology. France is rich, and I believe that people in France are living their best life. Their capital has 30 units of population, which is crazy. I bet it's like even more squeezier than New York City. And India built the most wonder in their civilizations. Among their 2,000 or like 3,000 years history, they never pick up a single fight. They never fight with any other civilizations. They have some weapons, but they're mostly just touristing here and there. Egypt and Greece is a little behind in this plural world situation, but I guess mostly it is because Russian was attacking them. But they also lead to a conclusion, which is in order to have a plural world, no one situation could bully others. But chances are, if you did bully any other civilizations, you're gonna be the most powerful civilization of all time. Well, on the other hand, the world, although is really peaceful, it's kind of too peaceful in a way, because when Russian was attacking other civilizations, Russian, Indian, and France didn't do anything about that situation. Like, they didn't stop Russian at all, although Russian could also be a potential threat to their own civilization as well. So, I don't know. I feel like I wish that this world is peaceful, but yeah, you really have to fight when you have to fight, because the world is interconnected. So this is the second Simulization that I had. The only difference in terms of setting is that here I have the barbarians. So like you can see, every city is under attack, every civilization is fighting here and there. All this red dot, if you're not familiar with, are barbarians. So yeah, like for some time I thought Korean would probably never gonna make this. I feel like this is pretty typical. So like when your capital is down, only your empire is gonna escape somehow. So like eventually, this time instead of Russia, Egypt is the one who is taking the most part of this world. But I feel like this last result is pretty good. I feel like this is probably exactly what realistic plural world would look like. I feel like every civilization has to somehow develop in the same speed, so they can't really wipe up one another. And on the other hand, they like have the same ability to attack back the barbarians. However, like, how can civilizations develop at the same time, at the same speed, at the same level, but still remain their differences? Overall, I feel like this experiment kind of showed me how hard having a plural world is. Although this is only just a game, I mean, it's ridiculous if we really think that AI can represent ourselves, really. Anyway, so yeah, so me as a god in this world already prepared them with a perfect land to develop the plural world, and I controlled their characteristic in every civilization. So they're like all developing in a peaceful way. However, there are still potential wars going on, so it's not enough. But on the other hand, sometimes they're like being too peaceful, so they don't really know how to protect themselves. They don't really know that protecting others are kind of their own responsibility, so they can also protect themselves because the world is so interconnected. Right, I feel like they are not realizing that. Sometimes it's also beneficial if they have a common enemy, like for example in the second civilization, I keep saying civilization. Anyway, in the second time, since they are having barbarians, I feel like no civilizations are picking up fights with each other because they're fighting towards a common enemy. That is surprisingly helpful. Apart from the keyword interconnected, another keyword is obviously independent. I feel like they really have to develop at the same level and at the same speed. By same, I'm not saying objectively, I'm saying that one civilization have to realize that they themselves are subjectively developing at the same speed as the other part of the world. So like they don't have to feel that, oh, the other civilizations are just so strong, so advanced, so developed, so we have to learn everything from other civilizations. Instead of that, I wish that they can feel that, oh, we're just different, we're just going on the same different paths. It's not about good or bad, it's not about more developed or not developed, it's not about modern or uncivilized. We're just going on to different paths. I wish that in a plural world, a civilization would have such a confidence in their own culture. Yeah, that's the main takeaways of my experiments. I wish that you enjoyed this video. I actually did more than 2 simulations. I actually did 4 or 5, but the information is just too much to be put into one video. Okay, thank you for watching and thank you for your time. Bye.